Good evening, everybody. This is Absolute Sniper, and here today to talk to you a little bit about medium tanks and what I call a class within a class. Basically, it just saying that not all medium tanks should be forced into the same role, nor do they have the attributes to successfully fulfill the same role every single time. We're going to be looking at replays in the Leopard PTA, the T62A at Tier 10, and then the Cent Tier 8 British medium tank. All three of those tanks are classified in Blitz as medium tanks. However, they all three have very different roles that they should be filling within the confines of a team in order to maximize their effectiveness. Now with this first one in the Leopard PTA, I kind of classify this medium tank and several like it as a mobility class within the mediums. Has nothing in the way of armor. Pretty much anything and everything can pin you from any angle. Any bounces that you're going to get are just going to be RNG and luck. And you have to keep that at the front of your mind as you're planning out your strategy and trying to do your best to help the team win. Your mobility mediums should be used to aggressively get to strong positions on the map where you can use cover, view range, camouflage, all to A, spot targets, and B, consistently put damage out. If you try to use these style of tanks as a brawling medium, or if you try to get right behind the heavy tanks and support them that way, it's going to be a lot more difficult to make the tank effective because of that lack of armor. This particular one doesn't have any armor, and it doesn't have the greatest gun depression. It has a little bit of gun depression, but it's not the greatest. So utilizing things like camo, hard cover, and proper positioning is going to be what makes this tank successful. And you can see there the lack of armor that I'm talking about. I take a shot from the 183 and one from the STI, and just like that, I am a one shot for every tank on the red team. So it's really important that you, one, recognize that class within a class and don't try to put a tank in a position where it can't perform well, or you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by trying to force every medium tank into the same role. I have no idea where that shot went. It looks like it went right through him, but hey, what can you do? So for the remainder of this game, I'm just going to use the mobility that this tank offers and get shots in, all the while trying to keep myself safe and keep applying the pressure on the Reds. And a mobile medium tank allows you to do this. The ability to pop out, take a shot, pop back into cover is really where this tank shines. It also allows you to do things like I'm about to here, which is, I know if I roll out in front of that 183, he's already reloaded. All he has to do is sneeze in my direction. He doesn't even have to hit me. He can splash me to death. So I reset camo, I use the mobility, reposition, and my hope here is that I catch him off guard if he's pushing up this way, and I'm able to get a shot on him. If he has turned to go around to try to flank me, there's no way that he's going to be able to outrun me, as you can see there, and easily able to put a shot into his rear and secure the win for the team. So that's pretty much how you're going to operate with most of your mobile mediums. Up next, we're going to have a look at the T62A at Tier 10, the Soviet medium. And this is a tank that I would classify as a brawler. It has a good gun, really poor gun depression, only 5 degrees on the T62A. Has okay mobility. It's not anything to write home about, but it's not a slow tank by any stretch. What it does have going for it is really aggressive armor plating, a strong turret, and the ability to go hull down against the same tier tanks. So this is the type of tank that you're gonna want to get up front and support the heavy tanks, support your TDs, hold positions of power on the front lines, all the while putting shots in and using aggressive angles on your armor to try to get some bounces and honestly keep the red team distracted as much as possible. As you can see here, I'm using the hardcover here on mines up on the top of the hill. I'm the only one that happened to come up here, even though before the round started everybody was calling, you know, hill, 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 and my team's kind of holding in the back here. So by using the aggressive armor that I have and some aggressive gameplay right up front, I'm able to get effective shots in. I'm keeping them from pushing right over the top and taking out our TDs. And I have just enough mobility that when the situation calls for it, I bail and I can get out of there. Again, I'm not going to reposition around the whole map. I'm just getting to a safer position where I can still hold this front line as well as I can and use that armor and the decent gun on the T62 to help out the team. One thing that all medium tanks do have in common is the flexibility. So you notice we have, you know, 2 heavies to start here, not a whole lot of armor to push up front, so that's why I took that role. You know, a mobile tank like the last one, like the Leopard PTA, it has the mobility to get up there on top of the mine hill, but it doesn't have the armor to stop anything from shooting at it or dissuade anybody from shooting at it. Everybody's going to spam HE shots at you and a paper thin tank like that, and that's really the big difference between a brawling tank and a mobile tank. Using the attributes that you have to put yourself in the best position to win. And then for the last one that I'm going to talk about today is going to be your gun depression tanks, primarily found in your British and American lines. These tanks all boast pretty decent gun depression, and a lot of the times they'll have a pretty decent armor too, which on the turret, I should say. The hull armor is going to be pretty weak across the board for your gun depression tanks. Turret armor, on the other hand, can be something that you can bounce some shots with and put yourself in a position to not be overly exposed while still putting damage in. Another common trait with your gun depression tanks is typically have decent DPM as well. You lack a little bit of the alpha, but you can slowly bleed the red teams down to nothing. These tanks are not frontline tanks. These are secondary, second line tanks. They're support tanks. Again, using things a lot like a mobile tank would, with view range, camouflage, map awareness, things like that, to put shots in on the reds without A, being spotted, or B, taking shots in return. This particular gameplay doesn't require me to use a whole lot of the gun depression that you have on the scent, but it does give a pretty good idea on how you're going to take up positioning, using the gun depression to minimize your exposure and peeking over little ridges. So this one here, you can see I'm just kind of watching the cap circle, keeping the reds honest, and putting shots in pretty much on the reload. Finally get spotted here by the IS-2 SH, and I start using that ridge and a little bit of gun depression that I have to just keep pumping out damage the entire time. And that's really the big 3 different classes of tanks within the medium class. There's another one that I'm not going to get too much into, just kind of a heavium. To me, the heaviums, there's not that many of them that are classified as medium tanks by World of Tanks Blitz. Those are mostly classified as heavies that are flexible enough to play the role of more of a medium tank. So they'll have the higher hit point pool like a heavy tank will, all the while the mobility similar to most of your medium tanks. One of the more popular ones that pops to mind is like the Tiger 1, is pretty decent heavium tank, or the Jumbo Sherman. These aren't the only 3 classes, but they are definitely probably the most common ones that you'll see. Anyway, let me know what you think about the class inside of the class concept. We'll be doing other classes of tanks here in the upcoming weeks. And once again, thanks for watching. Leave your comments below. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I will catch you all next time.